Hello once again, Autodesk people. Welcome to another tips and tricks session. It has been a really long time for me. I'm glad to be back on YouTube posting content. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jay Ayala. I work for Autodesk. I'm an engineering technical specialist. I'm still based out of the Pacific Northwest, and the video you're about to see is Autodesk Fabrication CADmep button mapping tips for reducing T's. Let me set up the scenario here for you guys. What we're doing here is we're going to try to accomplish something very simple. We're going to use the DesignLine, and we want it to automatically populate a reducing T in the stipulation where we may have three diverging pipe at different sizes coming into the same point. For instance, a 2-inch pipe coming in from a supply, and it's going to take a branch, a 1-inch branch off to the side, but the continuation is only 1.5 inches, right? So as soon as you lose some flow, you want to restrict that down, and we want the DesignLine to bring in that reducing T, and that's a very common detailing practice and plumbing pipe fitter practice. So this is my attempt at formally documenting how to accomplish that very common task. All right, let's get started. So what you're seeing here is I've got Fabrication CADmep 2015 open, and I'm specifying the hot water flow service. Now this brings into account all of the different DesignLine capabilities that I want. I want a 2-inch, I want it to be -16 inches from the finished floor, and I'm just going to draw my DesignLine here. So I have a 2-inch pipe that's being drawn. Now I'm going to change it to 1 inch, and this will be the branch that comes off to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'm going to restate the size, and then I'm going to restart the continuation here. So I've got 2-inch, and if we go to the line option and click on edit, it brings up this cool little dialog box. I love checking my design this way. So I can see the different sizes, I can see where they're located. So I've just verified that everything is in fact different sizes, and what I want to do here is I want this DesignLine to populate all of my pipe and the reducing T all at once. So let me show you how this happens. If I apply the 3D graphics here, I find that I have this challenge. It's giving me just a standard T, and then it gives me some reducers. As you can see here, here's a reducer from 2-inch to 1.5 inches. Again, this is just a standard T, and this is what I'm looking for. This is not how it's done in the field. And in order to make this work, it's finding the best way possible. Again, with reducers. So this is kind of annoying because this, when you think about how this is done by a pipe fitter in the field, this is not how they do it. Absolutely not. They bring in a reducing T, and they reduce the amount of fittings that they have to have in total. So I want to show you how we would accomplish this just with the attacher method. So here is the fitting that I need. It's this T that we have, and I'm looking for the right size. It's 2-inch by 1.5 inch continuation with a 1-inch T to the side. So there it is. And when I place this, I have the ability to rotate it after the fact and give it the right elevation. So let's set it at -24 inches below the flooring. Let's rotate this -90, and the goal here is just to make it match the right orientation. Let's add some pipe. And by using the attacher method, we can add pipe to all 3 sides. Now, had I been smart, I would have held the control button and selected the right length, maybe 12 inches. But, no matter. I can come back and just use the grips and pull this back so it's shorter. But that's a tip for you. Hold the control button when you pick one of those tools. It'll give you the option to dictate the length. All right, so again, you're seeing the proper way to set this up, which is the reducing T down below. Not the standard T. We don't want that one. We want the reducing T, as you can see here. We want the DesignLine to populate that every time. Now, let's go look at this in plan view really quickly. I'm going to show you a rev design command. All it does is it reverse engineers, and that's what it stands for, the DesignLine. So why did I do that? It's because I want to show you that same scenario with the reducing T versus the standard T, it's the exact same as what I have drawn in the DesignLine. If I erase the 3D and then repopulate it, and it gives me the standard T, again, this is the same situation that I was in earlier with the standard T. I don't want that. I do not want that at all. So let's figure out how to do this. All right. What we need to do is we need to take a look at the reducing T. All right, let's erase this design line really quickly. And let's get rid let's get rid of this information. It's no longer of any value to me. So first thing is, again, it's a verification here on the sizes: 2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch. All right. Let's just erase the remainder of this. Let's work with just this other design line that we had created previously. Now what you're seeing here is I can right click on this button and go look at the button properties. Now the button code, red to branch, okay? I'm changing this. I'm putting the number 2 in there, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. When I hit OK here, that's the button code of what's happening. Now in the service, you have what's referred to as button mapping. Let me pull that on my screen here. Now the button mappings, down below here, I'm going to move this up. Now notice that it says red to branch -90. I found that the mistake here was that it was just misnamed, and that was the entire solution, is just adding the number 2. So and moving that button mapping up. Now when I apply the 3D, it is now populating that reducing T in the exact way that I was expecting to see it. So I've accomplished my goal here of having the design line automatically populate that reducing T. Now let's start all over. I don't want to show you that this is smoke and mirrors here, so I'm just going to start all over. Here's a new design line, 2 inches, -16 inches below the finished floor. So I'll go ahead and just draw my 2 inch. I'll change it to 1 inch, and I'll move off to the side, and then I'll restart the design line at 1.5 inches where they converge, and I'll bring that straight down. So you can see we've got a 2 inch line reducing down to 1.5 inches because it loses a little bit of flow at the 1 inch mark. And again, here's my little dialog box that helps me identify each one of these. So now I can see that the design line is populating everything properly. Good job. Okay, some things to remember about how this works. When a design line, it doesn't populate as you're expecting it to. It's typically a result of the button mapping. And it could be that there's something misnamed, which was the case here, or that we just don't have them stacked in the right order. As you saw, I moved my button mapping up in priority. Another thing to remember here is extract the button code for the desired fitting. So if you have a fitting and you want that to be the priority, look at the button code. You can look at that by right-clicking on the button itself, going to the properties, and finding the button code. Now, typically what you're going to see is when things aren't behaving properly, it's usually that the button code does not match the button mapping. So just ensure that the button code matches the button mapping. And finally, use the rev design command to reverse engineer a design line, and that will let you know if you're on the right track or not, right? So as you saw, I had drawn the same design line, and when I reversed engineered it from the reducing T, it was the exact same thing. So the rev design command can come in pretty useful for troubleshooting. On behalf of Autodesk, my name is Jay Ayala, and the video you just saw is Autodesk Fabrication CADmep 2015 Button Mapping Tips for Reducing Ts. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.